This movie is actually 2 minutes shorter than the original version.
Hold on. Wait. Okay, follow-up question. This is unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen.
A recut.
The first, no,
years.
not a recut. The first director's cut to come in shorter. But no, I get what, because you tightened it up.
We're glad you're here. Come stay a while. You can make shapes and objects with your sounds, transitions from the smile.
What's up, guys?
We are at the Pizza Cave, the lovely sister company of Sunrays Cinema. We are talking to Royce Freeman, a filmmaker local to Jacksonville, Florida. I would say from what is a local filmmaker?
You tell me. One that doesn't get paid, apparently, because that's us.
Am I local if I'm not from here? How long do you have to be from someplace for you to be?
7 years, like common law marriage.
Yeah.
7 years.
I've been here since 2004.
The way I look at it, like Steven Spielberg is technically a local filmmaker because he lives and works in Los Angeles.
Everybody's a local filmmaker. They're all from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you call yourself?
I am a immigrant because I'm from New York and I moved to Florida when I was a teenager. So I'm, kind of from both places. And I literally am a family of immigrants. My mom's side of the family is Russian and Polish Jewish descent. And we lived in New York, so that it's very much a melting pot of all kinds of interesting folks.
I truly don't care about where you came from. I mean, like filmmaker, independent filmmaker, local filmmaker. What do you refer to yourself as?
Jacksonville filmmaker.
Okay.
Jacksonville filmmaker.
Let me get this. Apparently, you're not settled in yet. Like, what? There you go. All right, there. So let's get into the nitty gritty here. What made you want to make a film? What did you see? What happened to you? No, I'm not in your notes.
We got to get.
I do have
a little bit of an order, though.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Can I have that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You'll have it much more when we start winging it in the making.
If you need to ask me again
out.
that question so I can give you a concise answer.
Oh, no, that's good. Keep it real. All right, so this right here in utero, this is your most recent film that you shot, but you have a most recent film that you cut, which happens to be the first film that you shot. So, and that is called Rapture. That's why we're here today. The original release, when did that? Well, first of all, tell us about Rapture. What is it about?
Rapture is a thriller that has spiritual tones. The main villain is the son of a corrupted preacher, and the opposite side of it is this very virtuous, virginal gal named Grace, fittingly. And her and her friends fall victim to Wolf and his band of misfits because their car breaks down and they show up at the wrong house, and the tale is old as time, basically. So it's a thriller, and it's meant to kind of homage to the 70s less than PC films that a lot of people grew up on. Mm-hmm. It's not setting out to be offensive, but what it is trying to set out to do is just be real. And whatever real entails, we just set out to do it. The movie got, the way the project got started was way back. When I was a teenager, I worked at a movie theater, and I met my friend Tom online because I had a website, fan website, because I had no friends. And so I started a tribute website for Friday the 13th. And brazenly, I called up as this little eager goober of a teenager. Hi, my name is Royce. I would like to interview these filmmakers for my website. And so I interviewed all these filmmakers that worked on Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and these kinds of things. And this was before all the DVDs were coming out. So there was no special features, maybe Criterion Laserdiscs, but rich people had those, $100 a pop. Mm-hmm. But there was no websites. There was no, documentaries. These things weren't in vogue. So I was ahead of the curve, I guess, because people were surprised that I wanted to ask them questions because all these other things hadn't happened yet. So my friend Tom, we started writing scripts together and we're close friends. And then I met my friend Kurt at a movie theater I worked at, and he and I became fast friends. We wrote scripts. So cut 2 years later, when I moved up to Jacksonville, Tom came in as some inheritance, and he said, you know, I'm tired of us trying to find other people to make our dreams come true. We need to write our own ticket. So he said, you know, I'm going to drop this amount of money, and it became more than that, but, you know, he had more. But he said, I'm going to drop this amount of money. He says, this is the story I want to tell, very loose parameter. Reservoir Dogs, you know, meets blah, blah, blah. You know, just, you know, this is the kind of movie I want to tell. And he says, you and Kurt write whatever you want that fits in that description, and then I'll look at the script and make some suggestions. But more or less, you guys be filmmakers and do your thing. So Kurt had many opportunities over the years where people had made promises and let him down. So there was a little bit of that jadedness that we all get. And he, you know, like some people, they see, you know, this could be my one shot. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's also an actor. So he wrote himself a lead role. He wrote himself the lead, you know, he's Wolfie. And, you know, he chewed up the scenery. I mean, he wrote good, like, you know, in Son of a Woman, hoo-ah, you know, just kind of big, bombastic, you know, showy performance. Because, you know, it needs that. A movie like this, it needs the Spicoli. It needs the big wow factor and the personality. Mm-hmm. So we wrote this script, and it involved kids, bad people, and we created, you know,
perfect combination.
Kids and bad people.
Yeah.
And we created ancillary characters, side characters that literally they're functional. They have no name.
Now hold on, our audience.
Pizza Boy.
A lot of our audience smokes marijuana. Ancillary. Could we get a definition? Of
that? Yes, ancillary. Well, yes, Biff. Ancillary. They're side characters that are literally moving furniture. They are there to advance the plot. And so much so, they don't get a name. The character name is Pizza Boy in the script.
Every female character in an action film from the
ever
80s.
Hot girl.
Hot girl number 2 from the left.
Yeah.
So we wrote the script, and we pretty much didn't get much revisions at all. Tom had a few suggestions, which were quite good. Just made it more drama. You know, what if he didn't get dropped off at the door? What if the bastard made him walk to the house because he's mad, you know, that kind of thing. So we wrote the script pretty much, and 3 months later we were shooting.
Can I ask this?
Yeah.
Based off the story you're telling, because again, me and him have talked about this numerous times. You had an idea, but somehow it turned into a game plan. So let me ask you this: when did the idea leave your head, and you say, you know what? I'm actually going to do this. What was that moment to say, I'm actually, because a lot of people right now watching this interview or watching our show always say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And yeah, it's a great idea, but it's only an idea when it's in your head. How did it get out and started?
Well, before Rapture, I had been associated with, I had wrote a feature movie with my friend Ryan in Ohio. And it was for a producer team that ultimately they couldn't agree on anything. So the film never got finished. But we wrote the film and it needed reshoots. So I was going to take over editing and do those reshoots in Jacksonville. So I ended up finding a bunch of people locally. Some of them ended up in the cast of Rapture. But one of the guys that shot the reshoots, his name was Mark DeCage. He's actually one of the guys the movie's dedicated to because sadly he passed away after we had the premiere of Rapture the first time. And so he shot the reshoots for Hammerhead, which was the slasher movie. And so I met him because of that. And after that, a couple of years later, he said, "Oh, you need to shoot a feature movie. You know, I'd love to do that." So a lot of people from Hammerhead we carried over to Rapture, and David McKenna, who is a friend of mine who worked at a movie theater I worked at here, he's the co-lead of Rapture. His parents let us shoot in their property, the main location, the trailer and the property, the woods. That's the guest house on his mom's property, and the other house in the movie is David's house. And so it's all pretty much a family affair in that way. I mean, David, if he didn't have a location, we wouldn't have had a film. Mm-hmm. Kurt knew and Tom knew that we had the location from Hammerhead, which we used some of that property. So we wrote around the locations we knew we had. We didn't just write a script and say, fuck, how are we going to shoot this? We knew kind of what we were writing for.
Had you done short films or anything before? It was Hammerhead a short film that you worked on? Or?
Hammerhead was a feature. It did get a finished kind of, but the two producers just, again, they couldn't agree on anything, so it just went into, a drawer somewhere.
Well,
but
so what was your role on Hammerhead?
I co-wrote the screenplay, the feature screenplay, and then when it needed reshoots and a re-edit, I took over pretty much everything. I recut the movies from scratch, and I shot reshoots to fill in the plot, add extra, side characters, and I used body doubles to tie in what we were shooting to the people that they used before in Kentucky.
And Rapture was your feature film directorial debut.
Rapture was the feature directorial debut after working on some things as student films in their 2000s, and then helping a bunch of other people on their projects. I was always the one that wrote screenplays for other people and just sent them off, and then they made them, and I never had any say on how they got made.
Where did when did you start shooting Rapture, and when did it originally premiere?
Rapture started shooting in 2008, 2007, 2008. And we started shooting in the summer, which is interesting. Our original plan was to shoot it in 14 days with 2 cameras. Or actually, we ended up with 2 cameras. We thought we were going to shoot it with 1 camera. And once we had a cast in place, and we weren't paying people, it's like, here's points, we were working for money promised later. If it makes money, maybe, and you feel bad when you're a filmmaker and you have people working for, monopoly money. You want to pay them if the movie makes money, but they're not getting paid.
I think you just answered his question from 20 minutes ago, which was, what's a local filmmaker? That
local
line
filmmaker.
He just said, we're working for points. Maybe it may happen. We don't know, but hey.
Working for maybes.
Working for maybes, but you feed them.
Yeah.
You feed them well.
Feed them.
You got to feed them. You got to feed them.
Services, no matter your budget, is always mandatory.
I've been on 2 Royce productions, 2 days of Royce productions, and there's definitely,
So even if the film doesn't get made, there's a hell of a soup kitchen going on.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right, where did you premiere it at?
So the film was in post-production for over a year, because you're getting people to help you with time. So they help you when they're not working, or whenever they can. So we did ADR, and we did some additional pickups over that year. And then we premiered it at Sunray in 2014, and it was fun. Everybody that could make it did, which was quite a bit of people.
Hold on. So you started shooting, you said 2007, 2008, you started shooting, and then 1 year of post, and then it premiered in 2014. So you sat on it for a while?
We had the film finished, but there was just a lot of... I want to say this. There was a malaise in the air. We finished it, but we didn't. They always say that a lot of times with a business plan or something, you should know your end game before you even pull the trigger. We were very hungry filmmakers, and we had a budget, and we had a dream.
And a location.
But we didn't necessarily have a theater lined up. We didn't have a venue lined up. We didn't have that strategy. We just were hungry. We jumped in the pool and started swimming before we actually learned to swim, kind of thing.
Call that the Dirt and Godfrey.
Oh, yeah, yes. What I want to bring up is that fact, and then keeping on what you're saying here, is that a lot of filmmakers don't know this. Like, everybody has the idea, and some people actually do the idea. They make the film, but the dark part of filmmaking that no one wants to talk about, which is why you need friends who are in marketing and advertising, they're just as passionate about their career as you are yours, is that once the film is done, the talented people really have no fucking idea what to do. Do we go festivals? Do we do this? No, he said he won't do it. He's the producer. Everybody's doing, but what about the project? So could you speak on, because I know this isn't your first project. Hey, we're done now, but we're just getting started.
Well, what we set out to do was, we thought, what if you make like a hybrid, which at the time we made it, Cabin in the Woods, and some films that try to be subversive and set somebody up and then bait and switch, kind of thing. So we said, what if we do a movie that has the spiritual tones But what if the whole movie's like a Rob Zombie movie? So what if we alienate both audiences? What if we make a movie about religion that the church people don't want to see because it's got all the dirty language and all the violence and the sex, but then the Rob Zombie audience doesn't want to hear about faith? So what if we make a movie nobody wants to see?
Then everybody will talk about it. There you go. That's the result.
But we knew we wanted to see it. That's the thing. They say that even if somebody gives you a budget, like James Gunn gets to do the Suicide Squad or Guardians of the Galaxy, he might be getting a bankroll, but he's only making the movie he wants to see. Mm-hmm. He's not whoring out completely. You have to whore out a little bit. You're not, he's doing what he wants to do.
That's also the flip side. There's a flip side of that coin, Royce, because that's the one thing you lose. And once you, an independent filmmaker, most people will look down on it, but they have exactly what you just said. They can make the film. I'd rather have the actual cast, the story, and the script than the budget. The budget is the least important to me because you know why? Because when you get that budget, it comes with heads, studio heads, people who want to, I've always wanted to make a film. They have ideas. I don't even care if they're sober. They're usually bad ideas. There's a reason why you're in marketing and I'm making the film. I'll give you the product. But don't come to me telling me we want to take this out. It doesn't look good for business. No, you don't know what looks good. I do. Go ahead, Royce.
But they know the analytics. They know what the audience is coming to see this summer.
Yes, the numbers.
I heard a filmmaker say this, and you might have heard a bunch of people on all the guests on your show say this, that when you go into a meeting Monday morning, when you're in the middle of making a film, whatever film was popular on Friday that just had a premiere, you start to notice there's notes that come in on Monday, and if there was a blah, blah, blah in the film on Friday, suddenly they want a blah, blah, blah on Monday in your film.
This is what's in right now. It wasn't in until somebody made you like it.
It's the Die Hard on a noun scenario.
Oh gosh, Die Hard. When Die Hard came out, they redid.
Die Hard on a boat. Die Hard Die Hard.
At the White House. Olympus is falling.
What was the most? We're getting into the production now. The most challenging part of getting the film shot, or just a particular scenario that took place during the production that was the biggest hurdle to get over.
Well, one of them to start was we were casting the film and we knew we had a start date. One of the people, I don't want to say what role it was either because it makes the people think that we didn't think of them first for the role. But there was a person in one of the leads.
Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fucking writer.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Seidel.
He failed the audition for the role he wrote for. Wouldn't that be some shit?
Now that's a movie I want to do.
I wrote this part for myself. How did I not get it?
Well, anyway.
Not Tom.
So the we had someone in one of the leads, and they were set to do it. And they got a modeling gig that was going to take them for 2 days of the shoot to Milan, to do a paid gig, which everybody understands. Okay, we understand that. Mm-hmm. But because we actually thought we were going to finish this movie in the 14 days, we were like, we can't afford 2 of those days to not be shooting with this particular actress. So we said, I'm sorry, we can't have you. And then somebody who was going to play another role actually got bumped up to this lead. Mm-hmm. And then we found another person for that role. So it was a musical chairs, which was kind of funny because Kurt, playing the lead, he got yanked back to Miami to fill in 2 days of his job. And they said, if you don't come back, you're fired. And so he had to leave, which meant we couldn't. We had to juggle things around to shoot during the time that he was gone. Mm-hmm. We found stuff to shoot. Well, ideally, if we knew we were not going to be stopping after 14 days and we were going to go back for additional photography and pickups and all that, then we would have just kept the cast we had when we started pre-production.
Let me ask you this. So as you've done all these roles, you've written, you've cameoed, you've been in front of the camera, behind the camera, but now you're the man in charge, the head HDIC, the head director in charge. Let me ask you this. How does it feel to be responsible for so many people that aren't getting paid but still want to deliver their dreams and your product?
The first day of any production, and I've noticed this on short films, and it's worse on short films because short film, you might only have 1 day. So if there's a hiccup on the first day, it's the hiccup on the only day. And if there's a 2-day shoot, the first day is kind of slow and the second day has the pickup. But first day of shooting of the film, things that could go wrong did go wrong. We ended up reshooting half of what we did that first day because people were back in their characters after months, and those scenes actually were stronger because they could have. And now they knew their characters, so they actually could do those scenes better. So it was a blessing also. But the first day, everybody who doesn't really know you except for, oh, you're the guy that cast me. And they've never worked with you before except for two people, David and Kurt. So when you tell them to do things that, well, it's on the page, or it's an offset of what's on the page, but I'm still asking a lot of you, they look at somebody who's basically, I looked really young when I made the movie. So all this gray hair hadn't come until later or during the making of the movie. But they saw this kid, with big ideas. And their natural instinct is to say, yes, sir, and do what's asked of them. But sometimes when they're big ideas, they're not sure how it's going to cut together. They're not sure they don't see the bigger picture, even though it's on the script. Some things that are on the script that, it's like Star Wars. The script for the original Star Wars, didn't have any real description. So the actors are like, what are we supposed to say? The dialogue? It doesn't say anything. It just says dialogue. But so a lot of the actors, they had to take a leap of faith. Sometimes I had to really heavily infer they need to just do what's on the page. They need to not question it so much. And what it was helpful is we didn't have an official AD on the film, but our effects supervisor, makeup effects supervisor, John Herrick, he's a big guy. He looks like a bouncer, and he actually was a bouncer, among other things, in his life. And he's an imposing guy, and he's really a sweet guy, but he helped keep us all in line. People were more inclined to listen to John than they were to listen to me, not because I didn't have ideas, but I have no voice.
So you were more so the creative behind it, but you had somebody to help with the authority.
He literally is somebody with muscles, but
He
using
had a muscle.
He was the muscle. So people were more inclined to just do what he asked. But plus, also as an effects person, he also was the one that they had to sit in his chair for a while to get made up all the time. So he probably found ways to disarm them and be, all right, I know it's crazy what Royce is asking, but let's just do it so we can all go home.
There's a stigma that goes around, especially with Hollywood productions, which is that most directors and most sets, people are rude, they're assholes, it's Hollywood, or that's the way it is. And I have been on that side of it, and I've seen it. I've also been majority on the side of independent filmmaking. I've made films, I've directed them, I've acted, I've been in cameos, I've had lines taken out on the cutting room floor. So I've seen it all when it comes to a film. What I want to ask you is this. Knowing what kind of director are you? Because again, you're stepping into this director role. What kind of are you going to run a tyrant set like a director, or are you more coping? Because both of those can be bad. You can be a director.
And I've had this conversation with him after being on his set. I can answer this question.
Please.
He's arguably accommodating to a fault, to where almost sometimes it could be the detriment to the production. And I'm saying it like it's a terrible thing, but it's. You have the same people that work with you over and over and over again. That's probably for a reason.
How do you respond to those allegations from David?
Well,
I just paid the man a compliment veiled as an insult.
A grenade compliment. It takes time to get there.
Yeah.
Durden showed up as an actor on one of my short films, and
an actor playing a director.
Yeah. And he hadn't been on sets of mine except coming in to just kind of see what we were doing on Rapture, went on In Utero, which was fun. But we had a well-oiled machine that didn't come across as well-oiled because we were all speaking a shorthand that sometimes 3 other people down the line from you didn't speak that too if they were new to the set. Mm-hmm. So it came across as the nuts are running the nut house, but the nuts understood what they were doing. So cut to many months later, I have a short film that's about teen angst and attempted suicide and domestic abuse. And I said, Durden, I'd love you to shoot it for me. And so he came on the set, and we were shooting.
I can answer that question.
We were shooting at a breakneck speed. And I said to Durden, you read the script. What do you think of for this particular production? And he goes, I'm thinking we have 2 cameras and we shoot it just phonetically and just, one of them handheld, and just basically make the visuals as crazy and chaotic as the emotions. And I trusted him as a filmmaker, that I knew that this was a vision that he got right off the page. It may not have been what I thought of when I wrote it, but it ended up being the best thing for it, that we were pretty much letting it be documentary style. So it's almost like helping direct the film when you shoot it that way. So Durden actually assisted in that way in the directing.
So Royce, I heard you mention the word trust, and I know a lot of times me and Durden we always tell each other the reason why people always ask, why do you guys work together so much or do so many projects together? And we always say it's because it's trust, because we don't go Jay Wood, if you know what I mean. No matter what our night was before, we know what the next day entails. So let me ask you this. How big is trust with you, and how do you learn who to trust? Because you just mentioned you work with the same people over and over, and maybe that's for a reason. So talk about trust when it comes to this process.
I ended up working with the people that I'm still working with now, about 2 years later, on the project Cliché. Was a short film I did. And I ended up having a DP that worked on that. One of the effects ladies, so Brian and Casey, both of them worked on that project, and I worked with them on pretty much most of the short films since, and we developed a shorthand, as you both said. One of the things that each of them has said to me, that it's funny, that they both like it, but they also said in an ideal world, those things that they like wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. They said, I am accommodating, but they also wish that I would be such a auteur that I would come in like a dictator and say, this is what we're doing, this is all we're doing, let's go. And I was like, well, I'm not paying people. And also when I write the scripts,
that is a very careful balance that you have to. And this is what I think my response to this to you, because we had this conversation on Messenger, and I think my response to you is that the best way you could pay people back for not paying them is to not waste their time when they're there. But I'll give you this though. You are very accommodating when it comes to like, you want to try this again? You could try this again. But you are true to the script that you wrote. Like, you are unbudgeable in many ways when it comes to like the story that you're trying to tell. Because
at the end of In Utero, there's a big talking point that I won't even spoil here, but it asks a lot of the audience. It's such a really nuts thing to ask of the audience.
By the way, when is this available on DVD for people?
It is going to be available
as you show the DVD.
Yeah, it's actually going to be available on Amazon Prime the day before the premiere of Rapture.
So the 22nd of March.
There's a flip side of that coin, because I don't want to put you in a position where people come back and say you're wrong. Because David can speak to this. Will it be on Amazon? Because does he know about the title effects?
Oh no, that's different. That applies to the nonfiction world.
Okay. I just want to be sure. Okay,
this stuff still goes on it. It still sells.
Really?
Yeah, people still. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, no, but we have an actual distributor, and it's going to be on other platforms too. But it'll be available to purchase from them on Prime. It's not. It's not coming from me. It's coming from them. Awesome. So it was self-released 2 years ago, and then we actually found a distributor that wanted to just take it on. Mm-hmm. So,
all right, let's get back into Rapture. The recut. So this was the first film that you made. You go on to make you can't even count. You're doing like a short every other weekend. And then you did another feature film. What made you decide after that looking back at Rapture, like when did you decide you wanted to do it and why to recut it?
It's funny that it literally, Rapture comes full circle, because the thing that made me want to do it is also the reason I did In Utero. When I did In Utero, the wounds were fresh from feeling that I didn't get my auteur's vision on Rapture. I mean, I pretty much got to shoot what I wanted, because once we got 2 cameras after a couple weeks, Mark and I just basically shot it. I was the co-DP on Rapture. I shot everything on the second camera, and Mark shot the other camera. But we got some pushback every so often because of the heat and the stress, and sometimes the kids weren't necessarily all mentally all there, so it made Kurt frustrated, because Kurt would, like just how Heath Ledger, Kurt never showed up to set. Kurt always was there as Wolf. So I never worked with my friend Kurt. The whole time he was there, he was method. So when the kids were pissing him off, he sometimes went in a corner and kept to himself, or sometimes if the scene was going, we ad-libbed. So if somebody wasn't behaving, he actually, in character, while the camera was rolling,
Go get the hose.
one of the characters had to listen to what Stevie was saying. The character John played, and they were slow in the responsiveness. So rather than letting it be dead air, Kurt literally just said, "Man, she don't listen too well," because she really was not listening too well.
He was speaking of the cutting, and I want to go on this here. Let me ask you this: for all of our editors out there and our up and coming people who know nothing about editing, first off, what editing program are you using to edit this? And
Hold on, I didn't even answer the question.
Did he not?
How long did the recut take? Like, what made you want to recut?
Oh, okay, I'll find the abridged version of that. So the DP passed away, and one of the actors that played Pizza Boy passed away. And when we finished the movie, we ended up finishing it in HD, but in like 1080 or 720. It wasn't done with the idea of Blu-rays in mind. And so when they passed away, I was thinking to myself, half of the footage we shot, no one's ever seen, because a lot of times when Mark set up the shot, because I'm not a DP, I can operate a camera, but I'm not the DP. And so he would set the levels on both cameras, and he would set it up so that as long as I didn't change any of the ISOs or any of the exposures or do anything crazy, it would stay completely matching his camera. When I edited the movie, I edited it at a breakneck speed because I felt the pressure to finish it. So I literally, since my camera was the main camera as far as the wide shot and his was the punch-in, a lot of times I used my shot. And I edited like TV. I synced up both cameras and I just went A, B, A, B, A, B.
Were you guys using the same type of cameras or two different
two
cameras?
Sony Z1Us.
Okay.
Tape cameras, not DSLRs.
Okay.
And so when I edited like TV. I synced up both shots and I literally used mine as the main camera and I cut to his camera. But it was a disservice because I didn't realize that a lot of the footage I wasn't seeing when I was cutting away. He was doing zoom ins, pullbacks, really artsy, really cool stuff. And, I didn't see a lot of it until the movie was way done. And I wished I could put that stuff back in. So when he died, I actually wanted to do a recut. So I can get it up to HD standards to put it on streaming and stuff, but actually to do a true director's cut. And I didn't think for a long time I was going to get that chance. But Kurt and Tom saw that all these other filmmakers on different projects, there was always a pushback. I would tell him if I worked with other producers that weren't giving me. Other producers would say, "I want you to direct this." But once I started directing it, they would second guess me. They would want it to be done their way, but they wouldn't let me do my job. Yeah. So when I would tell my friends, Kurt and Tom, about this, over years, when I said I want to recut the movie, they're like, "You know what? Why don't you recut it from scratch? Don't think at all about the other version of the movie. Do what you want to do. Change, cut out, add anything you want to add." I said, well, I kind of wish I had reshoots and I could go back with David now 12 years later to show what his character is at and actually show flashbacks for Grace's childhood and add weird other stuff. So I added a whole bunch of new material that was never even shot 12 years ago.
So you've taken the time now on the recut that you wish you would have taken originally, and it seems like you're using a lot more footage that wasn't used before. You're even adding more stuff with people that you've worked with since then. And
I trimmed stuff out too. A lot of the shoe leather that we left in just to fill time, or because if things were acting a little slow in a scene, Kurt is great at improvisation. He started doing shtick as the character to be, very loud and very colorful as the character to make it interesting if a scene was not coming out maybe as great as we hoped. Well, we realized that was padding. A lot of the stuff that he was doing was showy, like in Son of a Woman. Ooh, ah, let's do this. Ooh, ah, like the big showy stuff.
No,
the Al Pacino,
Gene Wilder.
He was doing the Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And so, we realized, I said to Kurt, do you mind if I make your character more introspective and less showy? He goes, what do you mean? I said, half of your shtick's going to go. I said, I think the character, I said, there's so much in your eyes, in your face, the subtlety. You played so much subtlety that you don't give yourself enough credit for. I think all the other playing your character like a horse's ass and being very bombastic takes away from the nuance in your face.
Hoo-ah! What'd you just call me, baby? Hoo-ah!
But that's where it comes. Being a true director comes in. It's not like you're scared. You seem to come off as a very person who's humble, who cares about the passion projects, who cares about everything. All right, all right, Peter. So yes, you guys, you come off that. I'm not going to say anything.
It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do.
That's what she said.
Kurt is one of my best friends. Kurt and Tom were my best man and my man of honor at my wedding. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do to ask Kurt. I said, do you mind if I basically cut half of your performance out of the movie and let it be an introspective study of this man as opposed to this loud performance?
But that's what I was getting ready to say. That's where, again, to David's point, we've all had to do this, and I try to be the most respectful director I can, but even the word director comes with a definition of seeing your artistic vision through. You have to get the best out of your actors. Some actors need to be patted on the back, some need to be patted on the ass. If you've ever seen Tropic Thunder, you got to put these boys in the shit. Some people need...
I patted him on the ass the first time we shot together.
And look how we turned out.
He did take one. I said, "Is that the best? Is that really? You can do better."
And I've never seen anyone. No one's ever done that to me since. By the way,
I want to speak to this real quickly. I just thought of this. I ended up in post production, like years later. Now, when I'm doing the recut, one of the things when we shot with 2 cameras, but one of the cameras had the mic on it. We didn't have a boom mic, so when things were loud, it was great. If the camera's right in the actor's face, it was great. But what if the camera is across the room shooting a crisscross? The quieter lines don't necessarily come off so well. And when we did ADR back when we did the first edit, some of those quieter lines we never looped because the first sound designer said, "Oh no, it's cool. We can boost it and take all the noise out in post and all that stuff," which wasn't always true. So I asked Kurt. I said, "In the end of the movie, there's some really tender, sensitive lines that I just can't use the audio we have. I need you to go back into Wolf 12 years later and to give me some real emotion in these lines because I could hear it. I know what those lines were."
Are you sure you want me to do that?
You think about it?
You understand what you're asking me right now?
And I actually think that in doing the ADR for those quieter lines, he actually delivered a performance that exceeded what he did 12 years ago. And I think that anybody that hears that scene, they're going to need a tissue because you're going to see a side of the character that's not what you expect.
Final question, 2-parter. What's the difference in the running time between the original and the director's cut? And you're in an elevator with somebody for 30 seconds. What are you telling them about this movie before they get off on the first floor?
This movie is actually 2 minutes shorter than the original version.
Hold on. Wait. Okay, follow-up question. This is unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen.
A recut.
The first, no, not a recut. The first director's cut to come in shorter. But no, I get because you tightened it up. You learned how to tell a more efficient story.
I'm a better filmmaker now after this being the second feature in utero and a million short films. I'm a better editor now and a director than I was then. So I got to go back in and make an actual piece of art. The original film was what it was, and it was fun, but I got to make subtle choices, artistic choices. Less is more.
Rapture. See less, feel more.
I like that. That's the tagline.
The elevator pitch is imagine the devil and Mother Teresa, in a fight.
Oh,
I like that.
Duality.
Grace is the embodiment of purity and chastity, and she has to try to turn her captor and her attacker to the light. Even with a gun in her face, she still tries to stop him from evil. Rather than trying to fight him, she tries to turn him.
You got to do some audiobooks, man. And just listening to him, I was closing my eyes listening to what he said. Grace is like embodiment of like good versus evil. And even if you try to turn her, you just got to listen, Royce.
Hold on 1 second. So as we're recording this, we are days before the premiere of the 2-minute shorter director's cut of Rapture at Sunray Cinema. Which, by the way, shout out to Sunray Cinema, awesome supporters of independent film. They also take chances on the studio productions that are a little bit more abstract and less guaranteed to bring in the money. Can't say enough sweet things about them. And their fried pickles are fucking amazing here at the Pizza Cave. So stop being an asshole and come eat some. I forgot. I fucking did the plug for Sunray. I forgot what the.
Can I take it home then? Can I take it home?
No, I got it.
All right, take it home, brother.
All right.
Take it to church.
After it premieres at Sunray, what's the plans? Like, when can people that are watching this somewhere in Switzerland see it after the premiere?
There's a distributor that picked up in utero, and they asked me, "What do you have next?" And
what did I have last?
what did I have last? So I'm going to show Rapture to the distributor, and if they're interested, it might get picked up by the same people. And I haven't mentioned this enough, or really much at all, in this interview, that I got to be a filmmaker because my dad's a filmmaker, and that's the reason I got into the business. And pretty much without fail, almost every project I've worked on since I started always has my dad, who's retired now. He does all the post-production. So you're getting Hollywood grade post-production, editing, audios, color grading, titles, effects, the works. You're getting it for only, love. I mean, there's no budget there. He's giving... It's like a blank check. He's doing it because he loves his son. So there is a little bit of a leg up in the local community that you're getting hundreds of hours at a time for post-production on something, whereas he doesn't have a day job to go to. So he's giving it for love for his son. And, he was a filmmaker when I was growing up. He actually was a roadie on part of a Led Zeppelin tour. He was, and then he worked on The Song Remains the Same, which is a documentary. He actually shot part of it.
Awesome. Last question, Royce. Any advice to any aspiring filmmakers out there?
Don't take no for an answer as far as the filmmaking. Do the film you want to make, and only compromise where you're able to. If you're the one that has to live with yourself and wake up and fall asleep, there's no escaping yourself. So you make bad choices or you compromise too much, it's going to haunt you. You'll end up recutting the same movie 12 years later. So, make the movie you want the first time and stand your ground, I mean, I'm happier now with the movie than I was then. So, I mean, I'm not a good example of that, but it is inspiring to get a second chance. You don't always get a second chance. And it's humbling that I do.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was Royce Freeman. That's Rapture. You better check it out. TTFT exclusive coming soon.
And go see In Utero.
Go see In Utero.
Go see In Utero from your couch on Amazon.
There you go. Royce, it was nice to have you, man.
It is very much a pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Pearl Jam high five.
We're glad you're here. Come stay a while. You can make shapes and objects with your sounds, transmissions from a smile. We're glad you're here. Come stay a while. You can make shapes and objects with your sounds, transmissions from a smile.